Hi, how do you know that there's a God?
Hello there, old chap, how's it do? And well, that's one way to start a conversation, and I guess I don't. And that's kind of the reason that I, don't. Because if I did know there was a God, I wouldn't be, one of those things. But apparently, being an atheist is just impossible, which is really weird because I still am one. Let me double check. God doesn't real. Yep, still as atheist as ever. Hum-de-hum.
It's actually a very simple question and the answer is so easy.
The answer is so easy, my goodness. Well, I guess that's why atheists are at this point not an insignificant portion of the fucking planet. I guess we just missed that easy answer or something. Or perhaps it's not a simple question with an easy answer, and you're one of them stupids that we encounter all the time, who can't wrap their heads around the fact that if you think almost anything is actually super duper easy, you probably just don't fucking understand it.
By doing some deductive reasoning, you can know that there is a God.
Well, that all sounds very good until you realize that deduction alone can't really prove dick all. I mean, sure, you can come to some very clever sounding conclusions, but if they don't actually reflect reality or are not based on actual facts and evidence, then all you've really done is some mental gymnastics. And hey, if that convinces you of a position, good for you, but don't expect anyone who's actually paying attention to suddenly start agreeing with you.
You can also show it to others.
Oh, I will. Don't you worry about that, buddy boy.
Now, as with most apologetics, most unbelievers
will find it extremely unconvincing and probably make fun of you. Perhaps even going so far as to calling you a fucking moron. I mean, not here. We would never be so unfair. I mean, fucking morons are usually far smarter than most apologists.
Will not accept this because their reason for being an unbeliever.
Oh no, this never works out well. Whenever a guy like this says the reason atheists do X is because, it almost universally will be followed by something so catastrophically dumb, it's amazing the words were able to leave his mouth without causing some kind of stupidity singularity, sucking in the speaker and most nearby structures to a teeny tiny dumb dot. Personally, I recommend before telling atheists, or really anyone, what they think, that you should actually learn how to do a thinking yourself first. Then you might actually ask them about it instead of going on the internet and doing a big stupid all over yourself.
Is not a scientific reason or a logical reason.
No, there couldn't possibly be a scientific reason for thinking the God clams are nonsense, apart from the fact that almost every single piece of scientific information about the formation of the universe or the diversity on life, etc., seem to fly in the face of claims made by various book those. And of course, it's never logic. I mean, how could a person hear the incredibly stupid arguments of many theists and say, wait a minute, that's kind of dumb and full of these, logical fallacies? No, of course not. They are actually atheists because a magic bean buried itself in their frontal cortex, knocking God out of his rightful place inside their brain, making him no longer able to control your actions, like being a dumbass and saying stupid shit. Damn you, bean!
The power of God for salvation is in the gospel, not in human reasoning.
Wait, what? I thought you could use deductive reasoning, but if it's not in human reasoning, then I don't even know. You've just completely contradicted yourself. I mean, I thought you were going to at least say that atheists do atheism because of their feelings, but apparently it's just because the gospel exists. Also, if humans are a big problem for you, you just wait till you find out who wrote that book.
But this is a very logical short proof for there being a God.
Translation: this is a very stupid, dumb proof that won't actually prove shit. Instead, it will make you wonder how a person who can operate a camera and edit a video, yet somehow stop short in their technical prowess of doing a fucking Google search along the lines of, why am me argument the stupid?
At the end, I'll share one more passage that actually proves a theory that Einstein invented.
There's a passage of the Bible that proves the theory that Einstein invented. Well, for one, wouldn't that mean that the Bible invented the thing first? And second, while I'm sure it will totally do that, don't be surprised if people who hear it do something dumb, like demonstrate how that's not the case and that you are a fucking dumbass. I mean, I'm sure you're used to it by now. I imagine it happens a lot.
after it had been in the Bible for over 2,500 years.
Oh, I really hate it when this happens, because every time I'm like, what the hell did he just say? And then you lot in the comments are like, duh, it's this thing sick. And then I listen again and it's really obvious what they said. But all I'm hearing is after typing in the Bible for over 2,500 years. Okay, cool. Anyway. Aw, that's actually kind of cute. He's got his holiday videos. I mean, he's gone on some lame ass, let's look at some old bullshit holidays, but still, personally, my holiday preference is to go somewhere with an open bar, a sandy beach, and to not have to move so hard that my smartwatch alerts the local authorities that I may have just died.
So let's assume that we don't know.
Don't know? Don't know what, mate? That literally every argument for the existence of any god is actually in any way effective? Well, we do know that. They aren't. But that's only because they, well, you know, fucking aren't.
Or we are agnostic. That's what the word agnostic means.
Oh, right. You mean don't know if God exists. Well, the funny thing about that definition is it makes absolutely fucking everyone an agnostic. Because literally, and I mean literally, no one knows if God exists or not, because all the versions of him that anyone has ever come up with that are more complex than the asinine God am just mean universe. When we have a word for that, dickhead, it's called the universe. Use that. But any of the ones that actually mean anything, aka God is some kind of entity with certain wants and desires and the power to achieve them, but there's also invisible man who goes woo. They don't hold up because they aren't supposed to. Lack of falsifiability is entirely by design, I assure you.
Without knowledge.
And I am absolutely convinced you are going to be extremely agnostic in this video.
Now let's figure out a basic question. Where did everything come from?
That might sound like a basic question, but I assure you it's actually an extremely complicated question that requires a ton of information to be able to answer accurately. I mean, you have to define your terms first. What's everything? Everything within the universe? Or do you want to include things outside of it? And if you do, then I'm suddenly going to need you to tell me, how do you know what is out there? And I mean that in more of a who let this guy out of the universe kind of way. We really don't need people like you out there f***ing around with the fundamentals of reality. Thank you very much.
Where did the world come from? Where did life come from?
Well, we absolutely know where the world, or I'm assuming you mean Earth, came from. We have extremely in-depth explanations for how planets, including this one, are formed. And as for life, even though we don't have the exact mechanism down pat, we absolutely have understandings for how non-living materials can come together to become what we define as living. Funnily enough though, none of the things we know about how these things actually would have come to be are anywhere to be found within the Bible. I mean, you would think between all the genocide and justifying slavery and of course all the incest, God might have found a minute to explain planet formation without fucking up daytime existing before the sun.
I'm going to narrow it down to two choices.
No, what you are going to do is narrow it down to a false dichotomy, since there are very few questions in the world that only actually have two answers, especially when they are in the realms of complexity as where the everything came from.
Something or nothing. Can you think of another choice between those two?
Sure, but only because saying something or nothing is fucking meaningless. I mean, your specific examples literally come from something. They come from the processes that happen constantly in the universe. They are made from materials that exist in that universe. But they weren't specifically made by a mind doing it on purpose. But that's not the same as happening because of nothing. I told you, the people who think this shit is simple and basic and by any means easy don't have a fucking clue what they are talking about 100% of the time. And I don't just mean when we're talking about this.
Realize that if you say energy, that would be something. It would not be nothing. It couldn't be nothing, because that would absolutely make no sense whatsoever.
Right, let's just make this argument in a way that's not fucking stupid for him. Where did the universe come from? Because that's what he means, even if he doesn't know how to say it, because dumb. Now, your conclusion that it has to come from something is based on an assumption. One that you have because you live inside a universe where things come from other things. But again, you don't know what the outside of the universe is, or even that it is, in fact, a something.
There had to be something for all eternity past.
It is, in fact, entirely plausible that the universe could have come from a literal nothing. Now, I don't know how, and you certainly don't, but that doesn't make it not an idea that we can work with. Also, there's actually another not coming from something that could be the case. It could have simply always existed in some form. Now, I'm not saying that these are in fact the case, or that I believe them to be so, because, well, I don't know. But thinking there's no way it could be is just a severe dearth in imagination on your part, which is weird, because God is the most imaginary thing of them all.
You can try this with a bank that you don't have an account with. Try withdrawing money. If it works, please teach me.
That doesn't make any sense. Like, what would you even try to take the money from? I mean, if you talk to someone, they just ask you to set up an account, for fuck's sake. And then, do you know what you can do that completely shits on your stupid little point? You can have that bank account with absolutely no money in it whatsoever, and they will literally give you money. It's called an overdraft. It's probably not a good idea, because you have to pay it back with interest, but it happens all the time. It's weird. It's like you haven't been on this planet for longer than the time it took you to set up that fucking camera, for God's non-existent sake.
So we can deduce from this that there always was at least something for all eternity.
No, we can deduce from this that you have spent 0 seconds trying to actually disprove any of the things that you believe. Because if you had, you would know that maybe it's not that fucking easy.
What it is, we haven't figured out yet.
Probably something stupid.
So then the next question. There's something which was eternal. Was it something personal or impersonal?
You always have to love the way that guys like this assume that they make such good points that no one could possibly disagree with them. Like, I would have 10 times the respect if they would just say something like, if that was the case, or assuming this is correct. But no, it has to be the case because of how smart they is. Also, how much is 10 times 0 respect? Is it a lot? You'll have to let me know in the comments while you're down there subscribing and shit.
Something personal would be a being that has personality.
So, not you then. Oh, I'm sorry, that was mean. You have a personality. It's just not one that I would want to be stuck talking to at a party. But that's only because going to parties involves going outside. And fuck that place. That's where, well, you are probably.
Something impersonal would be like a rock, energy, gas, or some liquid.
I actually know some very personable rocks. Some of my best friends are rocks. They just kind of sit there and don't really do anything, but god damn it, that's what I want out of a person. To just shut up and stay still. Is it too much to ask?
Anyway, now the question again is, are there any other options? I myself can't think of any other options.
Well, try harder. And again, this is less about whether you could reduce it to that and more about whether you should. I mean, sure, an object likely wouldn't have a personality, but there is such a thing as living beings that don't have consciousness the way that we understand it at the very least. What would you call a gigantic universe-shitting amoeba? It certainly wouldn't have a personality, but it would be a being. It's not a rock or energy or a gas. That's the thing. Your failure to define your terms only hurts your position. Although, then again, I'm pretty sure that defining them would also hurt your position. But that is because I'm pretty sure your position is really fucking dumb.
Could we all have come from something impersonal? That would not make any sense either.
I would love to see you justify that one, but I can only assume it's going to be because of my feelings. Also, note that he called the atheist position not one of science or logic, and yet I haven't heard a science or a logic out of this man's mouth thus far.
First question would be, how did personality develop? I mean, we don't see a rock getting angry. Our furniture doesn't fall in love with some other piece of furniture. Have you ever seen an anxious box? Even when you are about to throw it in the trash?
Okay, but what has that got to do with the price of fish? Considering that even without the exact transition from non-life to life, we absolutely know we come from things that probably didn't have personalities. The fact that personalities formed later in the development of animals means that's completely unnecessary. And I know what this is supposed to be, even though he doesn't say it because he literally doesn't understand his own shit argument. It's supposed to be the idea that a creator of a thing needs to be able to do the thing in order for the thing to do the thing. AKA, to have a personality, you need a creator with a personality. But that is immediately obvious fucking nonsense when you consider humans create airplanes. And show me a flying human, and I will show you someone on a swift path to Dead Town.
Second of all, the second law of thermodynamics teaches that everything will go towards disorder. Energy will go towards less useful type of energy. Turn the light on and part of the energy will go towards heat. It really goes against all logic that's to say that something complex, as for instance the human body, could develop without a designer.
This old chestnut. And sure, everything goes towards disorder is more or less accurate in that regard, but it does ignore a fundamental aspect of the idea. It's in a closed system. So if you think that order couldn't have happened on, say, Earth, I want to introduce you to a little guy called the fucking sun. It's the thing where day actually comes from. I assume you didn't know about it, because your book doesn't seem to either.
When you see a beautiful painting, you know that there was a painter who made it. A book is written by an author and a building is designed by an architect. So creation is made by a creator, because the only logical conclusion that we can come to is that everything came from something eternal that has personality.
Oh, that's just the watchmaker argument. And even if it wasn't coming out of your ignorant gob, it would still be really dumb. If you don't know why that is, let's just say I wouldn't be surprised. But that's because I'm pretty sure you don't know fucking anything.
At the end, I promise you one passage which really shows how God made everything.
That's not what you fucking said. You said it would be proof for one of Einstein's things. You only said it like 3 minutes ago, for Christ's sake. Anyway, sure, let's see what it is. And what I mean by that is, let's see if it's really fucking stupid.
It's Jeremiah 10 verse 12. He hath made the earth by his power. He established the world by his wisdom and hath stretched out the heavens by his discretion. Notice, God took his power and created the earth. He took energy and made matter. It's almost like E equals MC squared.
Oh look, it is fucking stupid. I am surprised. Bye!
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel, Spoonstar Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the